During our single season, we can tell ourselves so many lies, and these lies can just really take form in our hearts and our minds, and they can just make us feel so negative and so hopeless and just not in a good place. And some of the lies that I know I've told myself and I've listened to have been things including, it's too late for me, I missed my chance, or everyone is judging me for still being single, or there are no good men out there anymore, or even things as deep as, maybe I am just unlovable, to the lies like I'm alone, or yeah, I have the ability to change another person. And I want to encourage you today that these are all lies from the enemy. For one, it is not too late for you. As a society in general, we are seeing people getting married later and later. Whether this is right or wrong, or God's timing, or just a generational shift and a cultural shift, it is not just you. The average age in England and Wales to get married now is 37 for women and 39 for men. And I just saw an amazing video actually on social media of this couple, and they were talking about how much they love each other. And I remember just watching it thinking, this is relationship goals, because they were just so, I don't know, themselves with each other, and they just seemed so happy and fulfilled, and they were really thriving. And then it basically came out that they only got married when the woman was 60. That was her first ever marriage, and she was like, yeah, it took me a while to find this man, but my goodness, was it worth it? And then when I heard that she was 60 when they got married, I was like, wow, okay, I get it. And we know that in the Bible there are just all these amazing stories of women and men who waited, they waited for a spouse, they waited for a child, they waited for redemption, and it always came at the right time. But sometimes it's so hard for us to really be able to accept that when we have our own timeline and we want to be in control of everything. So I want you to stay encouraged, because it is not too late for you, it is not too late for me. We just need to really trust in God's providence and to be proactive in that. We can't expect God to send us our spouse while we're just staying at home, but at the same point, we don't need to be, desperate or desperately yearning and thinking, when is it going to happen? Because we trust God's timing. And secondly, I want to remind all of us that our worth does not come from our relationship status. We have inherent value just from the very fact that we are here. Anyone who is a science geek will know every single atom and ancestor and event that had to happen for us to be here today. So the very fact that we're alive shows that we have inherent worth, inherent value, and we can never let our woes or our sadness about being single ever mess with that concept of our own value, because we are so valuable in the eyes of God. It can be easy sometimes, especially in Christian circles, where we, really do have such reverence towards marriage and family. And sometimes we can idolize marriage and family, and we can make it a false idol, even at the expense of our own self-confidence, our own self-esteem. And that's something that definitely the enemy is trying to confuse and trick us with, but we can't let him. We have to just know, hey, we were made in the image and likeness of God, and we're here for a reason. We're not waiting for our life to start. Our life has started, and we have to live each day to the fullest. And yes, we really recognize that good families are so important for the church, for our faith, for the world, for society. Like, I do believe that the family is the building block of society. But we also really know, admit, and recognize that our worth is inherent, and it exists because we exist. Can any of you add one moment to his lifespan by worrying? And yet we all do it. I do it. I worry all the time about everything. And it's something I'm really trying to grow out of, because you've probably heard that saying, which is like, worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair. You can do it all day, but it doesn't get you anywhere. And I also think about all the milestones and the timings, and I get it. Every time you go to a friend's wedding or a baptism or an anniversary party, and you just think, when, God? Like, when is it going to happen for me? And while I always say that we need to be proactive and work with God, we do ultimately need to surrender to his plan, his time, and his person that he has for us. And when that niggling vice of a feeling of envy or jealousy hits, when you are at your friend's wedding, or you are at your friend's baptism of their beautiful new baby, and you're seeing people meeting their person, growing their family, it is hard. It's hard to not look at that and to not feel a pang of sadness for yourself, even if you do also feel very happy for your friend. And those two things can very much exist at the same time. But we really need to try to reorient this. In the Bible it says to rejoice with those who rejoice. rejoice. And when we see this happen in our friends' lives, firstly, we should just be happy because my goodness, what a blessing that God has bestowed upon them. But also because when we see things happen to other people that are good, it means it is possible and it means that it can happen for us too. So try to rewire that way of thinking. So anytime this pang of envy or jealousy hits, like try to just say to yourself, and I do this all the time, like rejoice with those who rejoice. And I really embraced this at a wedding I went to in the summer. And I was just so genuinely happy for this woman. We've shared a lot about our kind of single struggles together. And seeing this amazing love story happen for her, I was like, I am filled with hope, with gratitude, and just like, wow, God, you really can redeem and you can really turn things over in an instant. Like we never know when we're at the cusp of God doing something life-changing like that. And then one of the last lies is I'm alone. So something I read recently which really helped me was that when you do feel in this place of loneliness, God is actually calling you into a very deep, intimate relationship with Him, into solitude. So when you can remove the word loneliness or isolation and think of solitude, it's this space where God is like, hey, it's me and you, and we can talk and we can pray and I'll listen and you can, really make your petitions known to me. So we're never alone. Even though we might feel alone or be physically alone or feel lonely, we are actually never alone. And that's obviously looking at it from a spiritual point of view, but in general, I went to a local community event yesterday and I was really surprised. So many people recognized me. They were like, oh, you're the one with the dog. Like I see where you take her for walks and stuff. And I realized in that moment, like even just here, like just in the streets that I live in, I am not alone. People notice and people want you to be involved and people invite you to really contribute. And we can be active members of our community, whether that's our families, our churches, our work life. We can be part of the culture that brings people together. And in that way, we can help other people feel less alone. And we ourselves can also be less alone. So that is a big fat lie. So I really hope that this video has encouraged you to just know that when these thoughts come into your head, just rebuke them and say, no, God, I know that I am loved and I know that you have a plan for my life, a plan for me to prosper, just as it says in Jeremiah. And I'm going to rebuke these lies because no, I'm not falling into that place of negativity. So please stay positive and I hope this has been helpful and look forward to seeing you on the next video. Okay, bye.